Hey guys, Sure Shot Midget here. So I'm going to be doing a formal review on the 3.5 pound straight trigger by CMC. So I've had quite a lot of time behind this trigger. I've probably put 600 rounds, maybe 800 rounds through this gun with this trigger. And I feel confident to make a review video on it. Now I will compare it to a standard stock trigger from a Palmetto State. If you don't know, this is a Palmetto State 2. This is mine, this is my brother's. Alright, so let's compare. So the first thing that you can see right off the bat is on the stock trigger set in here, the hammer is much, much bigger. Now what is that for? Why is the CMC smaller? Well, I've heard a lot of people say you'll get a quicker cycling gun because you have a smaller hammer, but an issue that you can run into is light primer strikes because the hammer is not as heavy. It doesn't have as much centrifugal force on the firing pin. Now I have had 0 light primer strikes with this gun because of the hammer. I put a lighter buffer in here and I was getting bolt bounce, which did cause some light primer strikes because basically when I was firing, quick, when the bolt would come forward, it would kind of bounce because the buffer didn't have enough weight to just seat the bolt completely closed. So with this buffer that came in the Palmetto State, it works fine. I just tried a lighter one to see if I could, get it to cycle with a lighter buffer so that I'd have less recoil and just kind of a quicker cycle, but that didn't end up working because there's bolt bounce. Also, one thing you're going to notice is that on the stock setup, the stock trigger sets, you have 2 pins. On the CMC, they are screws. So when you get this in the package, it's going to come with 2 kind of star hex wrenches, and you put one into each side, and then you tighten them both down at the same time, and these will never come out. And as you can see, you can compare those, the pins to the screws. Basically, these are, in its own way, anti-rotation pins. Now with the CMC trigger set, you can also see that it's a drop-in. So it reminds me a lot of an airsoft gun, a WE gas blowback rifle, like their M4s, their PDWs, their SCARs. They all use a drop-in trigger set, and that's exactly how this is. You can see the silver lining to it. I think it's probably stamped steel. It's probably just stamped and then bent into shape for the housing. As you can see, it's silver in there. And then on a stock setup, it's just going to be straight up just pins and then the walls of the body. Nothing special. Now, of course, the profile is going to be different. Of the trigger. You can get curved CMC 3.5 pound triggers, but I prefer the straight trigger look. When it's in firing position, it is unsafe. There's obviously no upper on it, so it's safe. But when you put your finger on the trigger, let me do it with because I'm a righty, not a lefty, so I'll just hold it like this. There's a little bit of play to it. I don't know if you can see. There's a little bit. This is a 2-stage. This is a 1-stage. Now with the CMC trigger, there still is kind of a I don't know, play period. See, when you pull the trigger, you can hear it click. It doesn't spring back, and I think that's part of the state with the it's a 1-stage trigger. There's a little bit of play there, and then you're to the wall. Once you put it on fire, it's the same way. You're already at the wall, okay? And then the reset, I'm going to hold it with the other side so you can try to see it a little bit better. Apologize if you can't see it very well. And then you can let it reset. The reset is a little long for me, but that's just how real guns are, of course. It's obviously no BTC MOSFET or anything. There's a mechanical reset. It's not electrical or anything. It's no micro switch. So with this, it has more poundage. I have to pull the trigger, which actually can strain. It can strain your hand if you're shooting for a long period of time. Some people like the 2-stage triggers, so they can kind of get to that wall. This is a brand new trigger set, so it probably needs broken in, but there's like right there's a little bit of play, and right there's where the wall is at, and that's what a 2-stage is. 1 stage is just there's 1 stage, there's no play. Now, like I said, with this trigger set, there is a little bit of play, but it doesn't spring back, so I think that's still considered a 1-stage because that's what it advertises is. I do kind of think this is annoying, this little bit of play. but you don't notice it when you're shooting, of course. Now, you might be asking, what's the positive of having a straight profile? Well, for one, you get exact finger placement. Obviously, this straight trigger has a ledge on the bottom, so a lot of people will just rest their finger on the ledge, and it's just a repeatable placement of your finger. Now, if you have shorter fingers, this straight trigger is not going to be the best. And it's because it pivots out so far. You see how far it pivots out compared to a curved trigger? Just in the same position. The curved trigger is like all the way back here. Okay, so that can be annoying, and it did annoy me at first. But with this type of grip that I have on it, there's no back strap here, so I can get my hand, the palm of my hand, up closer, and so I can get my better reach on my finger. Whereas with this grip, when I had it on here with the straight trigger, since there's a lip back here, it kind of put my hand further back from the trigger. And since the trigger's pivoted so far forward, it just wasn't working very well. So find a grip that is going to mesh well with your hand and your trigger. Now, you might be asking, how much are these trigger sets? I got mine for $140. You can find them anywhere from like $200 to $100. I got mine from $100 for $140 on Primary Arms, which is really the cheapest online place. I've seen people sell them for $100 used, or like new condition for like $120, $110. So you could find those that, you know, brand new in box or slightly used ones and get them for about $100, which is nice. I bought mine for $140 on Primary Arms. That's where I'd recommend going. And of course, the trigger is really not going to affect anything else. I do want to mention the ammo that I use. I use 223 Wolf. It's 55 grain. I have shot straight up 5.56 through this gun, and the trigger and the recoil is still nice and smooth. I do understand that the Wolf 223 is going to be kind of underpowered compared to NATO ammo. I have shot NATO 5.56 out of this gun, and it recoils a little bit more. It's a little bit louder, of course, which is normal. But this stuff, you know, is smooth. The cycle's fine. The ammo is non-corrosive, so some people will say it's corrosive. It's non-corrosive, especially if you clean your gun. I clean my gun every time I go out and shoot. I come back and I clean it. You want to clean your bore with a barrel snake, so you don't get any corrosion there. And then I just take my bolt completely apart, take the charging handle out, and then I just clean the whole upper receiver on the inside with a rag, because you know you get some carbon back there, and then I take the bolt apart and clean that off. With the lower receiver, I don't do much. Sometimes, you know, after maybe 300 rounds, I'll just put some lube on the springs on the trigger, but not, you know, there's no rusting or anything on there, so it's, you know, good to go. No issues there. This is my upper receiver. If you haven't seen any of my videos, it's a 18-inch. All right, so here is the basic trigger set on the my upper receiver. Again, this is my brother's lower. I'm going to go ahead and dry fire it. It is clear, just to see the reset and the pull and everything, just to see how comfortable it is. Not too bad. I'm going to let go of the trigger. See, whenever I fire a trigger like this, I kind of want to wrap my finger way too far around it. You know what I mean? Like way too far when it should be like this. That's just me. Because I just don't get, I don't get as good of a pull on it. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm pulling it straight back when I'm pulling it with the tip of my finger. When you're, you know, that's how you're supposed to shoot. Alright, now this is with the straight trigger. Side note, it does feel smoother when I charge the gun because my hammer is broken in on the top of it, whereas on my brother's, it's never been fired, so the hammer still hasn't had its paint, you know, rubbed off on it. So, just a side note. For some reason, the gun feels like better to me. I think it's the grip, mainly, because we're using the same stock. So, I'm just going to go ahead and dry fire it. It's clear. Reset. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's definitely a lighter pull. It's like half the poundage. The Palmetto State stock trigger set is about 6 to 8 pounds pull. And of course, to some people, $140 is still a lot for, upgrade, just a trigger upgrade. I think it's totally worth it. It will improve your accuracy, your trigger control. It's much more comfortable to shoot, and it just looks cooler too. It's more unique, because I know I did let my dad shoot it, and compared to his AR-15, he does not have a muzzle brake on his at all. It's just no threads on the end, because they were just back in the Clinton ban when he got his. So there's absolutely no muzzle brake on it at all, and he said right away he could tell there was a lot lighter recoil. Plus, he said that the trigger brake was a lot cleaner. So if you have any questions, let me know, and thank you so much for watching. Are you serious? My lizard just freaking pooped. That is foul.